And good morning. I'm Whit Johnson in for Diane Macedo. Thanks so much for streaming with us. We are awaiting the first regularly planned briefing by the White House COVID-19 response team and public health officials under the Biden administration. It is set to start any moment now, and we will bring that to you live once it gets underway. In the meantime, President Biden is set to sign another round of executive orders today focused on climate change. The orders will freeze new oil and gas leasing on federal land and kick off the president's ambitious agenda to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Presidential envoy for climate, John Kerry, will also join today's White House press briefing. Plus, the Senate is preparing for the second impeachment trial of former President Donald Trump. Senator Patrick Leahy was hospitalized last night out of, quote, abundance of caution after not feeling well hours after being sworn in to preside over that trial. He's now back at home and says he looks forward to getting back to work. Early signs indicate that there won't be enough Republicans lining up to convict the former president. 45 GOP senators voted yesterday to dismiss the upcoming trial as unconstitutional. As we surpass 100 million COVID-19 cases worldwide, January is now the deadliest month for the U.S. since the coronavirus pandemic began. But there are some signs of hope, with 23 million shots administered out of the 44 million that have been distributed so far. Now the White House is vowing to buy 200 million more doses. Eva Pilgrim has the latest.
Help is on the way. President Biden announcing plans to ramp up the vaccine effort.
We will increase overall weekly vaccination distributions starting next week. That's an increase of 1.4 million doses per week.
The plan includes buying an additional 100 million doses of both the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, bringing the total available doses to 600 million, enough to vaccinate 300 million Americans by the end of this summer. The Biden administration also vowing to give local officials a supply forecast so that states can prepare adequately.
This is going to help make sure governors, mayors, and local leaders have greater certainty around supply so they can carry out their plans to vaccinate as many people as possible.
There may be more hope on the horizon. Johnson & Johnson is expecting results on their single-shot vaccine as early as next week, putting them on schedule for possible emergency use authorization by mid-February. That would add an additional 100 million doses to the U.S. arsenal by the end of June.
Our thanks to Eva Pilgrim for that report. Now to Wall Street, where a new wave of independent investors is shaking up the stock market and taking on big hedge funds. Amateur day traders are sending stocks soaring to new heights. But the big rewards come with high risk. Chief Business and Economics correspondent Rebecca Jarvis has more.
They're young, internet-savvy, stuck at home during a pandemic and looking to beat the odds. No, they aren't your typical Wolf of Wall Street guys.
At the tender age of 22, I headed to the only place that befit my high-minded ambition.
They're a kind of amateur day trader, and their impact on stock prices has been huge.
What we have is the perfect storm of stimulus money, a cohort of younger investors, and we also have these platforms that encourage sort of these weapons of mass trading, as it creates, if you will, this explosive upward effect.
Cameron Bublick is a 20-year-old Rutgers student who's been playing the stock market during the pandemic.
Every day when I wake up, I check, first thing I do is go on Robinhood and check out the app.
Using the Robinhood app, where he trades as much as he wants without paying fees, Cameron and others like him have taken the value of stocks and companies that traditional Wall Street investors are largely betting will fail, like GameStop, BlackBerry, and AMC Entertainment, to unthinkable heights.
How do you get your ideas about which stocks to buy?
A lot of it, to be honest, is very impulsive. A lot of what people do is basically, gambling on this.
He also gets ideas about which stocks to gamble on through a community on Reddit called Wall Street Bets, followed by nearly 2.4 million readers who spend 24/7 talking about stocks of companies like GameStop. The posts include everything from satire to strategies like bankrupting institutional investors for dummies, featuring GameStop. The hope is that they can drive up the price of a company and then cash out.
They're pulling it up by posting about it, more people buying it. Do I think that GameStop is worth, $220 a share? No. I know personally near where I am, I've seen probably 4 or 5 GameStops shut their doors within the last year. The stock's only worth as much as people think it is.
Their efforts to game the system sometimes pay off. A year ago, GameStop was about $4 a share. Yesterday, it closed at nearly $150 after surging almost 100%.
You saved up and you put the savings into GameStop. And you're smiling.
I made money on it.
While Cameron won't say how much money he put in, he believes he made thousands of dollars on the trade.
A lot of my friends and I, we do it together. It's kind of almost like a game to me. I love to be up. I get upset when I'm down, obviously.
In the process, Cameron and the army of people buying GameStop shares have caused serious losses for some traditional Wall Street speculators. Now, a handful of industry leaders are calling for an investigation because of the angry mob that's formed against them. This game, perhaps as entertaining as it is risky.
Well, I would approach it the same way you approach it going into a casino, and that is you're not investing, you're gambling. And the history of people building economic security through this type of trading activity is pretty rare.
Even those playing seem to know the odds won't always be in their favor.
I've seen people lose their life savings or college funds, not be able to pay their loans off. I never want to put myself in that position.
This is not exactly the first time we've seen this kind of euphoria in individual stocks. I'm reminded of the late 90s, early 2000s. Back then, as the internet bubble would nearly burst, there was no Reddit or Robinhood app, but there were Yahoo and AOL chat rooms. And back then, you'd find people talking up individual stocks. The frenzy inside of them could be dizzying, but Whit, for most, that didn't end well. Whit?
That is for sure. Rebecca Jarvis for us. Thank you so much. That does it for this ABC News Live update. I'm Whit Johnson. ABC News Live is here for you all day long with the latest news, context, and analysis. I'll see you back here at 3 p.m. Eastern with Terry Moran for the breakdown. Until then, remember, we're waiting for that COVID-19 response team briefing from the White House any moment. As soon as that comes on, we will bring it to you live. Have a great day.
After all the buzz, all the sleuthing, all the anticipation, today we finally did get to see Apple's next big thing. CEO Steve Jobs took the wraps off the iPad, and Neil Karlinski was in San Francisco for the unveiling.
After a wave of international hype, Apple chief Steve Jobs took the stage and played ringleader, this time with what he calls the iPad.
We think we got the goods. We think we've done it.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.